Modern statecraft could come from a book written by the emperors of imperial Rome. Now as then, you make peace with your emperor by placing a gift at his feet. Take the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who turns out to be a consummate groveller. First came the announcement of a second state visit for Trump, who has a thing about British royals. Now Starmer is exploring whether golf bosses could host the 2028 Open Championship at Turnberry, which Trump owns. Would Starmer serve as Trump's caddy? In the same vein, King Abdullah of Jordan could have presented Trump with a carpet or a pair of falcons. But he decided on something far more effective. He banned the Muslim Brotherhood. There are powerful reasons for placating Trump. Jordan is amongst the world's largest recipients of US aid, which Trump has already once threatened to cut. Trump also selected Eric Traeger, a hawk on Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood, as his Middle East advisor on his National Security Council. In the first term, Trump toyed with the idea of banning the Brotherhood in the US, and he may well do so in this term. Abdullah's move places Jordan in the Western camp's push against political Islam. The move has already paid off. Millions of US dollars for Jordan's largest desalination plant, which dried up when Trump dramatically cut foreign aid budget, have been restored. Domestically, however, the move is more of a gamble. In banning an organisation that's been around officially in the kingdom since 1945, Abdullah has crossed a line that his father, King Hussein, was careful not to transgress in 47 years of rule. Hussein's relationship with the Brotherhood was complex, but he was a master of balancing global alliances with the challenges he faced domestically. His son is less gifted. The Brotherhood stood by Hussein in moments of personal peril, including when a 1957 coup attempt by Nasser-inspired nationalists and leftists failed. Another example was in 1970, when Jordan was on the brink of civil war in its fight with the Palestinian Liberation Organization. The Brotherhood had a battalion alongside Palestinian forces, but they took no part in the conflict itself. The Brotherhood was also useful to Hussein as a safety valve. That happened when the former Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in 1990, and that was another crisis for the king. Hussein was an ally of Saddam, but he was against the invasion. As a consequence, Jordan suffered from the pressure the West put on it. To face this challenge, Hussein kept the unity of his people by forming a government in which 5 ministers were from the Brotherhood. But there were conflicts too. The Brotherhood opposed Jordan joining the Baghdad Pact, one of the many ill-fated attempts to start a regional NATO in 1955. It was also against Hussein's best-known foreign policy move, the Wadi Arba peace treaty with Israel. But Hussein never banned the group, even when he was pressured to do so by Arab leaders like Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser and Syria's Hafez al-Assad. Hussein was no sympathizer, but he realized the Brotherhood could play a peaceful, reformist and important role for him. Hussein's relationship with Hamas was even more interesting. When Hamas became a power in Palestine during the First Intifada, Hussein was interested in developing a relationship. He allowed Hamas to open offices in Amman. In 1997, Hussein agreed to take the Hamas leader Musa Abu Marzouk after 22 months of imprisonment in the US. Famously, when Mossad attempted to poison Hamas's Khaled Mashal on the streets of Amman, Hussein demanded the antidote from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, threatening to sever relations and to put the Israeli perpetrators on trial. He even strong-armed Netanyahu into releasing Hamas's spiritual leader Ahmed Yassin. No other Arab leader has managed to do this with Israel. But under the son Abdullah, relations with the Brotherhood went into steady decline. Within months of becoming king in 1999, he expelled Hamas and agreed with the Qataris that their political bureau should move to Doha. He later stripped the Brotherhood's charitable status and stopped their work. He thought he had weakened the Brotherhood to the point where he could contain it, but it is this mistake he's made repeatedly. The regime's other tactic was to encourage splits. In 2015, Jordan granted a license to a splinter group led by Abdul Majid Thunebat under the name of the Muslim Brotherhood Association, making the original group unlicensed. It has used licenses to crack down on the media arm of the affiliated political party, the Islamic Action Front. But each time Abdullah thought he had political Islamists licked, they demonstrated their popularity. The The Hamas attack on Israel on the 7th of October 2023 turbocharged support for the Al-Qassam brigades across Jordan, but especially amongst the tribes and the East Bankers. A year later, the IAF secured 31 out of 138 seats, making it the biggest party in parliament, even as the Brotherhood members were targeted for arrest. In recent days, journalists, commentators, former officials have all called for the Brotherhood to be banned. But there's nothing spontaneous about these campaigns. Just like Egypt, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, no writer in Jordan is free to say what they want, and if they do, it's not for long. What we are seeing is not a popular campaign against the Brotherhood, but rather something that has been planned for a long time. But by whom? There have always been two currents of thinking in the royal court and the defence establishment in Jordan. The first is to see Israel as Jordan's existential enemy. This has been loudly voiced by the Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi, who declared that Israel had killed 30 years of effort to convince people that peace is possible. The same current can be seen in other, less official ways. When Maher al-Jazi, a retired Jordanian soldier, killed 3 Israelis in September 2024 at the border crossing between Jordan and the Israeli-occupied West Bank, members of the Jordanian army went to the family's mourning ceremony in their uniforms. The second current is to see Iran and political Islam as the kingdom's main existential enemy. And this has a formidable, if less visible, proponent, Jordan's General Intelligence Department. This organisation is so vast it was once described to be by one former official as Jordan's parallel government. The Mukhabarat, as it is also known, today serves as the CIA's main Arab partner in the region. The CIA provides undeclared financial assistance to the Mukhabarat over and above the aid that Jordan gets from the US. The relationship between the two agencies is so close that the CIA has operatives permanently stated at the quarters of GID. During George W. Bush's war on terror, Jordan was front and center of the CIA's secret interrogations, renditions, and intelligence gathering. One ex-CIA man, Michael Scheuer, who spent 4 years tracking Osama bin Laden, put the JID on a par with Mossad in terms of its usefulness to the US. He said, Jordan is at the top of our list of foreign partners. We have similar agencies and they are willing to help in any way they can. Clearly, with this history and funding, the Mukhabarat will use the rhetorical defiance of Safadi and others as cover, but it will pursue a different agenda, closer to that of its paymasters. There are clear dangers to Abdullah in allowing Jordan to be dragged down this path. For one thing, the timing could not have been worse, coming around the Jewish festival of Passover. This year, more than any other, Passover became a crude show of religious conquest and hatred in Jerusalem, hatred directed at Christians as much as it was Muslims. More than 6,700 Jews entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque's courtyards to pray, according to the Waqf, more than all the Jewish worshippers who visited during the holidays last year. This was a particularly bad year for Palestinian Christians. Reverend Munther Isaac, a Christian pastor and theologian, said that this Easter was the worst ever. Netanyahu's government is openly flouting the status quo in Jerusalem. At Al-Aqsa, which the king in Amman has a duty to protect, Islamists are providing the only defense against a sustained attack by religious Zionists. Abdullah is patently failing to defend his custodianship of Jerusalem's holy sites, which include Christian churches as well as the mosque. Banning the Brotherhood when Muslims and Christians in Jerusalem and Bethlehem are under sustained attack is nothing less than an act of sabotage. For Israel, Jordan's ban on the Muslim Brotherhood is proof that the king can be bullied. If Israel sees that such a king prioritizes a ban on the Brotherhood over speaking out against what is happening at Al-Aqsa, it can calculate it could get away with its next project, which is the annexation of the West Bank. King Abdullah should be careful not to follow the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's footsteps down the plug hole of history. Abbas refuses to allow a government of national unity to form, even though it's patently and abundantly in the interests of Fatah and the PLO to do so. He has done this in the hope of getting on side with Trump. The result is that Ramallah is ignored by both Netanyahu and Trump, who now plans to eliminate the US Security Coordinator's office to further downgrade ties with the Palestinian Authority. Trump's contempt is a reward Abbas has received for prioritizing a relationship with Washington over his fellow Palestinians. Abdullah should beware of Abbas's fate. History will not treat him or the Hashemite kingdom kindly.